Sino?
At the beginning of the movie, we see a little girl in school who is told by some students that if she wants to be their friend, she has to go to the science hall at night and sing "Mary Had a Little Lamb" and record it on a tape recorder. As the girl sings, she hears someone singing back to her, which startles her, and suddenly, someone attacks her. We are then introduced to Faith and her friend Karen at Regina Celli Academy in 1993. Karen shares an urban legend that took place at the school, cautioning Faith not to say her name there. And then, she discloses her name was Mary Cherry Chua. In 1965, Mary Cherry Chua was a bright and radiant girl. She was diligent and consistently ranked at the top of her class. Thus, it came as a shock to everyone when she was discovered dead by the pool. According to the investigation, she was raped and murdered by a former school janitor who was subsequently sentenced to life imprisonment. But 2 years ago, he passed away in jail. Many students believe that Mary's spirit still lingers at the school, seeking justice. We are then shown Karen and Faith at the poolside, engaging in a ritual to communicate with Mary. Karen cautions Faith not to let go, no matter what happens, and advises her to keep her eyes closed. As they both close their eyes, Karen calls out Mary's name 3 times, and then she senses her presence there. However, Faith starts to feel uneasy, her breathing becoming labored, and she withdraws her hand abruptly. And when Karen opens her eyes, she discovers that Faith has vanished, and then she finds her unconscious in the pool. As a consequence of her actions, Karen is expelled from school for the remainder of the year. However, after receiving a stern final warning, she is granted passing marks and allowed to advance to the 2nd year. Her sister Lena cautions her, emphasizing that this is her last opportunity and warns her against repeating such actions. The following day, when Karen returns to school, she attempts to engage Faith in conversation, but Faith shows no interest in talking to her. After a while, their teacher, Mr. Manzano, introduces himself to the class. He shares that he graduated from Regina Celli Academy in the 60s and has been teaching English literature there for the past 5 years. After class, Karen approaches Faith, hoping to mend their relationship by asking if they can partner up for the term paper. However, Faith informs her that she already has a partner. Karen then asks when they might read horror stories together, to which Faith says, maybe next time, and then she leaves there. In 1987, Lena, also a student at Regina Celli Academy, along with her 2 friends, attempted to communicate with Mary Cherry Chua. After some time, Lena realizes that Mary has come there, and we see her spirit behind one of the girls, and then she also places her hand on the glass. Lena asks why she is still lingering here, if her killer has been caught. The glass moves to no, indicating a negative response, and when Lena asks her what she wants, the response spelled out is justice. At that moment, their teacher interrupts the session, instructing the other girls to leave. She then asks Lena to follow her outside, where she scolds her, emphasizing that it is forbidden to bring such items into a Catholic school. She asks her why she insists on digging all about Mary Cherry Chua, to which Lena says she saw Mary, and she said justice has not been served. The teacher advises her to help the school community move on from this nightmare and warns her not to speak about this to anyone, or she will not graduate. Back in the present, Karen announces that her chosen topic for the term paper will be the mysterious death of Mary Cherry Chua. Mr. Manzano informs the class that Mary was a former student at the school who tragically died, and her death was attributed to the janitor, but the case has since been closed. She questions Mr. Manzano if justice has truly been served, pointing out that stories of Mary continue to haunt the school despite the case being closed. She says maybe her soul is still here looking for justice, and she has the sources and means to uncover the mysteries of her death. Mr. Manzano expresses his approval of Karen's chosen topic and assigns Martinez, the most bullied student in the class, as her partner for the project. Mr. Manzano then asks Karen why she wishes to pursue this particular topic, to which she responds that she wants to become an investigative journalist someday. We then see Karen and Martinez by the pool, where she explains to him that they are here because the last time she spoke to Mary, she didn't have the chance to introduce herself or say goodbye, so she wants to do it right this time. Martinez makes excuses and walks away, leaving Karen alone. Undeterred, Karen proceeds to perform her solo ritual of calling out to Mary, and unbeknownst to her, Faith stands nearby, observing from a distance. Karen introduces herself to Mary and explains that she is a friend who, like her, seeks justice. Karen heads to the library to collect Mary's batch photos from the archives. While her teacher goes inside to retrieve the photos, Karen begins to browse through some files there. But we see a mannequin covered with cloth appear to move. Suddenly, her teacher returns with the files and informs her that she is going inside to gather the remaining photos. In one of the albums, Karen discovers a photo of Mary with a cross on her face. Suddenly, the cloth covering the mannequin falls off, startling her teacher, and she asks Karen why she pulled the cover. However, Karen quietly tucks the photo into her bag and leaves without saying a word. She takes the photo to Manzano and questions why Mary's face was crossed out. She wonders if the school is trying to erase Mary's existence from Regina Shelley's history. Manzano admits that even during his time, discussing Mary was forbidden. Karen then shows him a newspaper clipping about Emilio Baldonado, the school janitor accused of killing Mary. The article reveals that Baldonado maintained his innocence until his death 2 years ago, despite being sentenced to life in prison. She adds that 6 years ago, a group of students claimed to have communicated with Mary. According to their testimony, Mary revealed that her killer had not been caught and expressed a desire for justice. Karen suggests that Mary's true killer may still be at large, and they need to speak with Mary herself to uncover the truth. Manzano expresses concern about the risk to the school if they try contacting the dead, but agrees to back Karen up. He recommends interviewing people first, and offers to join Karen in speaking with Mary if she chooses this path. As Karen begins interviewing some of the old teachers and staff of the school, she encounters resistance when she mentions her paper on the death of Mary Cherry Chua and her efforts to gather information about the case. They all try to evade the topic and refuse to discuss it further. Later, Faith comes to her, and Karen tells her that nobody wants to answer her questions about Mary Cherry Chua. Meanwhile, 2 students are cleaning a classroom, and one of them dismisses Mary Cherry Chua as merely a story. Suddenly, they hear someone crying in the class, but when they find no one else in the classroom except for the 2 of them, they flee from the class in terror. Later, while sitting by the pool, Karen expresses frustration that no one is willing to discuss Mary's case, and we see Mary's ghost standing behind her. Suddenly, Karen hears crying and senses Mary's presence, and as she approaches Mary, the ghost turns her head. Karen is then overcome by a vision and wakes up from her sleep in tears. The next day, Manzano approaches Martinez, who informs him that Karen is feeling stressed out because the teachers are not cooperating with her and that they have started avoiding her altogether. Meanwhile, one of the teachers senses the presence of Mary behind her, but when she turns around, she finds no one there. Feeling unsettled, she goes to the washroom, where she is horrified to see Mary's apparition on her shoulder. On the other hand, a staff member agrees to interview Karen off the record. She mentions Miss Estrella, who resides at a home for the aged located right in front of the school. Miss Estrella was a teacher at Regina Cayley and served as Mary Cherry's class advisor. She expresses hope that Karen may still be able to gather some information from her. Karen approaches Martinez and notices him sitting alone, looking very sad. When she asks him what's wrong, he explains that he had a big match scheduled for today, but his teammates asked him to fetch water, and by the time he returned, the bus had already left without him. Karen tries to console him, suggesting that perhaps if she were in his position, she wouldn't bother with the team that treated him unfairly. The next day, while taking her exam, Karen notices a crushed piece of paper rolling towards her. She picks it up and is startled to find the words "Don't look behind you" written on it. Soon after, blood begins dripping on her sheet, and as she turns, she finds Mary Cherry Chua hanging above her. Later, Karen approaches Faith and says she knows she saw Mary. Despite Faith's attempt to leave, Karen insists that she also saw her and believes that Mary is trying to tell them something. Faith continues to try to leave, but Karen stops her, and in a shocking revelation, Karen discloses that Emilio Baldonado, the man who raped Mary, was Karen's grandfather. Every time they went to see him, all he ever claimed was that he was not a murderer. She believes in her grandfather's innocence, and this is why she is determined to uncover the truth about what really happened to Mary. Meanwhile, Manzano asks Martinez about his research with Karen. Martinez informs him that Karen told him she saw Mary hanging by her neck, and now she's off to pursue a lead that might help, but she didn't ask him to accompany her. Later that night, the school guard notices a student still on the premises and questions why she is still there. However, to his horror, he watches as the girl begins flying around the school balcony, and suddenly she passes by behind him. The next day, Karen and Faith visit Miss Estrella and introduce themselves. Karen then asks if she knows Mary Cherry Chua, to which Miss Estrella confirms that she was her honor student. Miss Estrella reminisces about Mary, mentioning that there was a boy named Aka whom they would tease her with, implying they were lovers because they were always together. Karen then asks Miss Estrella if she remembers what happened to Mary. Miss Estrella somberly recalls the moment she found Mary lying unconscious, and she remembers seeing the janitor Emilio with her. She expresses her disbelief and sorrow, unable to comprehend how Emilio could do such a thing to Mary. Karen asks Miss Estrella if she is sure that Emilio killed Mary. However, due to her dementia condition, Estrella remains silent. Meanwhile, the school principal questions Manzano about allowing a student to study and discuss a matter that has already been laid to rest. Manzano reassures him, stating that Karen won't be able to uncover anything new since nobody in the school is cooperating with her. However, the principal expresses concern, mentioning that Karen is interviewing Miss Estrella, and if Miss Estrella says anything damaging, it could tarnish the school's reputation. The next day, while Karen is in the library conducting research for her term paper, a paper suddenly flies off her desk. Intrigued, Karen follows it as it leads her to a corner of the library, and there, she is startled to notice Mary standing in a corner. Karen becomes increasingly frightened and tries to ignore Mary. However, no matter how much she tries to distance herself, Mary continues to approach her, and then she suddenly closes her mouth and drags her away with her. After a while, when Karen regains consciousness, she finds a book in front of her. Upon inspection, she discovers a letter written by Mary tucked inside the book's pages. Suddenly, Mary's ghost appears before Karen. Upon returning to her class, Manzano announces that instead of a term paper, he will require them to submit short stories and poetry. Karen raises her hand and asks him about the ongoing development of their topics. In response, he instructs the class to submit all their works in progress to him, and he will grade them accordingly. After the class, Martinez approaches Karen and expresses his desire to share something with her about Manzano. Later, Karen goes to Manzano and asks what happened. Manzano explains that the principal approached him after hearing rumors around the campus about discussions regarding Mary Cherry Chua. He questions whether Karen truly believes that the school administration wouldn't discover that she interviewed a patient with dementia about Mary. He asks her why she didn't tell him about these things. She tells him that she found something new and that she is determined to pursue it no matter what. She then shows him the letter she found in the library, revealing that Aka got Mary pregnant. Karen emphasizes that only Mary can provide the answers they seek, so they need to find a way to communicate with her. Manzano suggests that since tomorrow is a weekend and there will be fewer people at Regina Chile, they can try to speak to Mary without anyone else knowing. Later that night, Karen gets into an argument with her sister Lena, because Lena is upset with Karen for spending all her time thinking about Mary Cherry Chua. Karen reveals to Lena that Mary showed herself to her, and she believes Mary is trying to tell her something. Lena dismisses Karen's claims as nonsense and warns her that she doesn't know who she's up against. In response, Karen asserts that she is not a coward like Lena, who allowed those responsible for what happened to their grandpa to get away with it. Karen regrets that Lena never used the power she had to seek justice. Lena explains that she has already lost her grandfather, and now she doesn't want to lose her sister too. Understanding her sister's concern, Karen tells Lena that tomorrow will be her last chance and requests her to let her pursue this one final time without interference. The next day, Karen and Manzano are seen at school preparing to communicate with Mary Cherry Chua. Karen instructs him that, regardless of what happens, he must not let go and should keep his eyes closed. She then summons Mary, and after a while, she tells Mary that she is here and she is with Aka. Manzano asks what she is talking about, to which Karen reveals that Manzano lied about not being in the same batch as Mary, and that he is here because he wanted to know if Mary really was pregnant. He was the father of Mary's unborn child before he killed her. Suddenly, Manzano attacks her and renders her unconscious, and as he begins to carry her away, Martinez notices him. After a while, when Karen regains consciousness, she finds Estrella in front of her, who confirms that she is the one who visited her, and here it is revealed that Manzano is Estrella's son. Estrella asks him to kill Karen just like he did to Mary, but he denies killing Mary, insisting it was an accident. Now in a flashback, we see that when Mary wanted to tell Aka about her pregnancy, he accidentally pushed Mary, causing her to fall into the pool and die. He wanted to make it look like a suicide, but at Estrella's request, he brought Mary's body to the side of the pool, and Estrella implicated Karen's grandfather, Emilio, in this matter. This revelation makes Karen furious, and she accuses Manzano of not only killing Mary, but also the child in Mary's womb. Manzano slaps her to silence her, and Estrella is shocked to learn that Mary was pregnant. Meanwhile, Faith and Lena arrive at the school searching for Karen, and they discover Martinez tied up in a classroom. Lena enters the classroom to assist him, but as soon as she frees him, he runs away in fear. However, he quickly returns and informs them that Karen is in danger. On the other hand, Manzano is about to hang Karen, but she manages to kick him and seizes the opportunity to turn the tables, hanging him instead. Estrella tries to intervene, but Karen pushes her, accidentally causing her to be stabbed. Despite her injury, Estrella manages to save Manzano, and when Manzano attempts to assault Karen again, her sister and friends arrive, and they pull up the rope, hanging Manzano once more. After a while, Manzano sees Mary in front of him and apologizes, expressing that he didn't know. Mary comforts him, hugging him, and it becomes evident that Manzano is dead. Later, Faith approaches Karen and reveals that she died on the same day. Faith tried to avoid her, but realizes that she can't leave while Karen still needs her. Karen apologizes to Faith, but Faith reassures her that she will never regret what happened. They share a heartfelt hug, and after a while, Faith disappears. After these events, the case of Mary Cherry Chua was reopened, and individuals connected to the case were arrested. As a result, Karen's grandfather is declared innocent of any wrongdoing. Justice is finally served, bringing closure to the tragic events surrounding Mary Cherry Chua. The next day at school, Martinez becomes Karen's good friend, and as they read horror adventures together, they are unaware of the ghosts of Mary and Manzano lingering behind them. Thanks for facing the frights with us. If you survived this video, drop a like, summon that subscribe button, and brace yourself for more horror. Until next time, stay spooked.